going with the flow here.
Hmm.
You just have to stream this public hearing live through YouTube.
Going with the flow here.
There we go.
Okay.
You just have to stream this public hearing live.
See up at the top on the right-hand side, the little dots. Oh, over. Yeah.
Going with the flow
Oh,
here.
no,
There we
that's
go.
not it.
You just have to stream this public hearing live.
Okay, we're just trying to
On a
find
Do we
everybody.
get it live?
There we go.
Yeah, we need it live because it's
We
public.
just have to stream this.
We don't need it live just because whoever wants to.
Okay, we're just trying.
Yeah, let's cancel this.
Okay. Is that why?
Well, we should work on that
Yeah.
next meeting.
Is being.
Got it.
Oh, got it. There's everybody.
Sorry about that.
And, okay.
So the
Did you want to read this?
Yeah.
Uh,
the first item is to adopt the agenda. So read the resolution. That is, be it resolved that the agenda for the Sudbury East Planning Board regular meeting of December 2nd, 2021 be adopted as distributed.
Could I have someone put this motion forward? Dave and Jackie Leffler. And anyone object to adopting this agenda? I guess I should have asked for discussion. Okay, carried by all. Next item, is there anyone who wishes to disclose pecuniary interest and general nature thereof? Anyone? I don't see any actions, so we will go on to number 4. I hope you had a chance to read through the meeting's minutes of October 14th. And did anyone find any errors or omissions? Nope.
I'll read that.
Okay, read the,
Okay. So be it resolved that the minutes for the Sudbury East Planning Board's meeting, a regular meeting of October 14th, 2021, be as adopted as distributed.
could I have someone to move this motion forward? Paul, and a seconder, Dave. And we have somebody missing. I guess we need to go back so we can see her name.
There's one.
There she is. Okay. Oops. And anyone have any objection to the minutes? No, so it is carried by all.
We just have some there. That's the minutes.
Is that better for you, Karen?
That's amazing. Much better. And are there any presentations to be made tonight?
No.
Nope. So we are moving on to our consents. This evening, there is a public hearing for 6 consent applications scheduled for analysis and discussion as listed. Gerald and Carmen Chartrand, B4921 French River. Richard and Giselle Schreier, B5021 and Mark State Warren. Chantal Roy and Kyle Jacobson, B5121 Mark State Warren. Frank Romans, B5221 Mark State Warren. Jill and Nicole Deloge, B5321 French River, and Jonathan Gerber, B5421 as St. Charles. The Planning Act requires the applications to be analyzed and discussed before the planning board decides whether or not to grant provincial consent. The analysis and discussion of an application serves 2 purposes. First, to present to the board and the public the details and background to a proposal. And second, to receive comments from the public and agencies before a planning board decision is made. The Director of Planning, Mr. Matthew Dumont, will then advise virtually of the purpose and effect of the application and summarize any correspondence on file. Second, we will call on the applicant or their agent to add any explanations or reasons why the application should be approved. The planning board will then have the opportunity to question the applicant or anyone giving the presentation. The application will then be considered by the planning board. Mr. Dumont, would you please advise how and when and to whom notices of applications were circulated?
So the notice of application for severance was sent by mail to the assessed owners within 60 meters of the property subject to the consent, and to those persons and agencies likely to have an interest in the application. Included in each notice was an explanation of the purpose and effect of the application and a key map showing the location of the subject property.
I now declare that this portion of the planning board analyze and discuss consent application B4921 French River, Gerald and Carmen Chartrand. Mr. Dumont, will you please summarize the purpose and effect of the proposed consent and provide any additional information and correspondence relative to the application?
So I met with Gerald in the office at the Sudbury East Planning Board on a few occasions to go through this application to assist them through the severance. And so from there, his lands are located in the municipality of French River, between the south side of Seguin Road and the north side of Wolseley Bay Road. And it's just west of rural lands. And to the east, there are also crown lands, or at the end of the road. The subject lands are in an area predominantly, so mostly it's just all rural in that area. So we received the application to create one rural lot. So Gerald wants to create one rural lot, and the severed lot is to be approximately 5 hectares in area, and it's going to have about 122 meters of frontage. And that lot is going to be presently vacant. His intentions are to build a home on it eventually for his, I believe, family member, while he resides at his the retained lands where there's an existing house. So the retained lands are much larger. They're about 61 hectares in area, and we'll also have 258 meters of road frontage. And actually, we'll also have road frontage on Wolseley Bay Road, which is approximately 388. And like I touched on earlier, his property contains a single family home, and he has several different buildings, such as like when I went to his property, he's got a barn, he's got a detached garage, he's got a milk center and another barn. So there's quite a few different little buildings on that large property in the back of his house. So part of the severance application, there's a checklist of items that he has to clear before I can support or provide a recommendation to the board. So in this case, the proposed severed lot and the lot that he's keeping will continue to meet the rural zoning for both. As I touched on, adequate access is proposed for the severed and the retained parcel of land, which is publicly assumed by the municipality of French River and is maintained year-round, so no issues there. Minimum distance separation is not applicable. There's not farming activities on his property. He did receive supportive comments back on August 19, 2021 from the Sudbury District Health Unit. And he also provided me with a letter from an engineer regarding potable water for a private well, just to ensure that once the lot's created, water is there. And provided me a letter that once a septic is installed, that somebody will be providing services to pump out the septic system. So he did provide that as well. So overall, no issues. And with respect to the zoning, kind of already touched on it. His lot's going to exceed the area requirements, and his lot's going to exceed the lot frontage requirements. So there's no change in zoning whatsoever. So strictly just the creation of a rural lot. I circulated for comments to the municipality of French River. They had no objection to the severance. I touched on it earlier. The Sudbury District Health Unit provided supportive comments, and no other comments were received as part of this report. So overall, the severance application can be supported from a local and provincial perspective.
Okay, does the applicant have well, I can't talk tonight. Does the applicant have a presentation that he or she wishes to make?
Not this evening.
Not here. Are there any questions or comments from members of the public?
No.
Nope. And are there any questions or comments from the planning board to the the director of planning or any person who has made presentation? Any questions? Pretty straightforward.
So I will read the resolution for the severance application. So be it resolved that consent application B4921 French River submitted by Gerald and Carmen Chartrand for approval as per the report prepared by the Director of Planning.
I have a mover for this consent. Renee Carrier, and Dave seconder, Dave View. And any objections? Okay, carried by all. Please be advised there is a 20-day appeal period during which time any person or public body may appeal the decision or any condition imposed by the planning board by filing an appeal with the Secretary Treasurer as prescribed by the Ontario Land Tribunal. You have 1 year to fulfill the conditions of this conditional approval or the approval will lapse. And just as an aside, can I ask a question? Is there any cost to somebody making an appeal?
Through you, Madam Chair.
Objection. Yes.
Through you, Madam Chair, to the board. So there is a fee associated with any appeal. It depends on the type of application.
Okay.
For example, severances. If somebody was to appeal, it's $400.
Okay. Okay, thank you. I now declare that this portion of the planning board analyze and discuss consent application number B5021, Mark's Day Warren, Giselle and Richard Shire. Mr. Dumont, will you please summarize the purpose and effect of the proposed consent and provide any additional information and correspondence relative to the application?
So this application has a lot of history to it. The history is a result of the Ministry of Transportation and their laws and regulations that they have in place. Because ultimately, whenever you create a lot off of a highway, you need to have the approval through the Ministry of Transportation. So these individuals, I'd say, went to great lengths the last couple of years because of what they had to endure with the Ministry of Transportation in order to where we are tonight to create this one lot. So basically, the property is in the municipality of Marks Day Warren, and it's just in the heart of Hager, the town of Hager. So it's just off of Highway 17, and they're looking at creating one residential lot. Obviously, the residential lot is significant in size. It's 15 hectares, and it has 373 meters of frontage. And I drive by it every day. It contains a single-family home, detached garage, and a woodshed. And the proposed lot to be retained is, again, 6.7 hectares and has a lot frontage of 132 meters. And is presently vacant. So kind of give you a little bit of context, they've already provided and received approval from the Sudbury East Planning Board last year for a lot boundary adjustment. And the reason they had to go through the lot boundary adjustment is the rule for MTO is that you must have a minimum of 500 meters of frontage to consider a lot to be created. If you don't have 500 meters, they won't entertain approvals for an entrance to a site. So you won't have access to your lot. So the Schreiers were just shy of the 500 meters. And if you look at if you add up the retained in my report, the 373 to 132, it just exceeds 500. So they had to acquire land from their neighbors to exceed that 500 threshold. So part of that process, they had to do the lot boundary adjustment. They also had to rezone the lands. That was all approved through the municipality, Mark St. Warren, and the board. So we are here tonight so they can finally create that one lot because it now exceeds more than 500 meters of frontage. And so that's what's unique about this one, where we have now supportive comments from MTO. So MTO will grant access to that newly created lot where they will be able to build a home and any other structures on the property. And basically that summarizes the intent of this application. With respect to comments from the municipality of Mark St. Warren, they had no objections to the severance. The Sudbury District Health Unit also provided supportive comments. I touched on the Ministry of Transportation has provided me documents, and they also went on to say that no easements are required as part of this process. Hydro One in Bell Canada had no comments. So overall, the application to create one residential lot in the town of Hager can be supported from a local and provincial perspective.
Does the applicant have a presentation he or she wishes to make?
So Telec Engineer is the agent this evening, and they had reached out to me last night and advised was whether or not they should be participating in the meeting. I gave them advice that it wasn't required, in my opinion.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from members of the public? No. Are there any questions or comments from the planning board to the applicant, director of planning, or any other person? Any questions?
Yes, I have a question. Do you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. I have a question regarding like all of the frontage you were just stating. Is there, like, if you look right next to the lots that were retained, like the lots are significantly smaller in size. Is there a line somewhere on the highway where it says beyond this point, you need all that frontage, and beyond that point, you can have a smaller frontage?
So through you, Madam Chair, it's a very good question. So what's unique about this? So there's no line. There's no line for this property to adjust like, hey, you need to have this much frontage, or the line saying you need, or you do have enough. You made a very good point. So all those lots that you see on the map are existing to this day. What the trigger is as soon as you want to subdivide it, whether it's a small lot. So if it was a small lot, we wouldn't be here tonight. But because they had such a large property, it worked in their favor. But it was, I fought tooth and nail for them with correspondence back and forth with MTO, because in my opinion, they were around 470 meters. And I said, it's unreasonable to request additional 30 meters. I didn't get anywhere with MTO on that. So I did my, so I tried to help as much as I could. But unfortunately, they had to do a few more development applications. And finally, it's going to be a sigh of relief, because it's hopefully going to be approved by the board this evening.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Dumont. Is there any other questions for Mr. Dumont? I just have one question. Is there some reason that they didn't go straight with the lines, like why they have those two jet outs?
So through you, Madam Chair, can I just borrow that for a second?
Sure.
So I'm not sure if you can see this, but as you can see, the solid white line is irregular in the map. To the east, it's shaped irregular at the corner. The reason it's shaped irregular, that was the land that they had to acquire before we got to the severance today, to gain that extra lot frontage. And in terms of where the solid line is with the dash line, how it's not straight, perpendicular, His father did a survey, which is unique because you usually get your survey once you're done the severance. His father got a survey done back in the 80s. So he's been sitting on this forever. And so he's going to save a lot of money because it's already done. So he wanted to work with the survey from the 80s.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Matt. Okay, would you like to read the rest? Oh, any other questions? No?
So I will read the resolution for the municipality of Marsh St. Warren. So be it resolved that consent application B5021 Marsh St. Warren submitted by Richard and Giselle Schreier for approval as per the report prepared by the Director of Planning.
Do I have a mover for this? Motion is read. Renee, and a seconder, please. Jackie, thank you. And any objection from anyone? Okay, carried by all. And please be advised, there is a 20-day appeal period during which time any person or public body may appeal the decision or any condition imposed by the planning board by filing an appeal with the Secretary Treasurer as prescribed by the Ontario Land Tribunal. You have 1 year to fulfill the conditions of this conditional approval or the approval will lapse. Yes,
I'm just gonna add Rob, just so you know.
you're gonna,
Add Rob. Rob is saying no.
oh, okay.
Where's Rob?
Oh, he's coming. Okay. I now declare that this portion of the planning board analyze and discuss consent number B5121 March Day Warren, Chantal Roy and Kyle Jacobson. Mr. Dumont, will you please summarize the purpose and effect of the proposed consent and provide any additional information and correspondence relevant to the application?
So this application, the agent is Bruno Roy. I've been in numerous conversations with Bruno regarding this severance application. So it's in the municipality of Mark State Warren. So the intent of the application was to create. Can everyone hear me? Sorry. That's good. Okay. So the intent of the application is to create one residential rural lot on McCarroll Road. The proposed lot is to be 8 hectares in area with 30 meters of lot frontage. And it's presently vacant. So the proposed retained lot, the lot that we're keeping or proposing to keep, is 53 hectares and has 546 meters of frontage on Homestead Road. And contains a mobile home with shed and detached garage. So this application is a bit different, whereas the past applications, the agents have provided all the required information to support these severances. So during the discussions with Bruno, we're going to, I was being flexible. So flexible in the sense that I was very transparent with him in stating that because the Sudbury District Health Unit comments have not been provided to our office. The letter regarding servicing for sewage and potable water is not provided as part of this application. And the zoning, so there'll be a zoning application requirement. Why is that? Because the lot frontage is required 100 meters. What he's proposing is 30 meters. So in his view, he wanted to have the recommendation provided in support of this severance, knowing that as all these conditions will require supportability. So that's the risk he's running, and me being flexible and saying, hey, Sudbury District Health Unit, potable water, sewage hauler, zoning bylaw, all are conditions that need to be supported. So the reason I did that was to be flexible in timing, to get this through to the board as soon as possible. So for that reason, I'm just making it very clear to the agent, and the agent does understand that going forward. So other than that, I did circulate the comments to the municipality of Marsh St. Warren The chief administrative officer had no objections. The chief building official had no comments required. The public works superintendent. So I reached out to Don Couche, who's the public works superintendent, regarding this matter because I wanted the municipality or public works to prove to me that the road, because there's two roads, there's McCarroll Road and Homestead Road. So I want to ensure through their bylaws that both those roads are maintained year round again and publicly assumed. So I do have confirmation through an email from Don Couche on March 29th, 2021 regarding the road maintenance of both roads, McCarroll and Homestead, should there be any issues. With the fire department, had no issues with the application. Economic development officer had no comments to add. Union Gas, Hydro One, no concerns for the severance. And Bell Canada had no concerns for the proposed severance. And other than that, no other comments were received as the day of the report.
So Bruno is asking to join and he's the agent. Is that
Oh.
okay?
Yeah, that's fine. So basically overall, with that all said, in terms of the information that's been shared, the application is to be supported conditionally on what I've touched on: Suffolk District Health Unit, potable water, sewage hauler, as well as the zoning bylaw to be supported by the municipality's council, which is Mark State Warren, as part of this severance application.
Does the applicant have a presentation he or she wishes to make? Or the representative?
So through Madam Chair,
Mhm.
Bruno is presently participating on this file. So I'll give him the opportunity to provide any further information regarding this application.
So it says connecting to
Bruno?
audio. He might be having issues.
Yeah, I see that. We'll give them.
So right now, what we get to see from our end to the board members is that Bruno is trying to connect to the audio. So he may have some, he's maybe having some challenges with the service. So we'll just give him, a little bit of time to see if he can connect with us this evening.
So- We'll just go on for, are there any questions or comments from members of the public? I don't think so. And are there any questions or comments to the applicant, their agent, the director of planning, or any other person? Any questions?
I think he'll be successful.
No, it looks like he's unable to connect. I have one question.
Okay.
The lot to be severed, how do you figure that they have any road frontage there? It looks like there's only that little corner.
Through you, Madam Chair, this is a discussion that I've made very clear to through this process to the agent. So it is a very good question because there's been no surveying work done for the proposed severed lot. So the application that I have processed is the information that's provided by the agent, and the agent has provided that it's approximately 30 meters of road frontage. So once we go through this process, the agent understands fully that there's a little flexibility from my end, a little bit in terms of, that leeway. You're saying 30 meters. So if it comes in at 20 meters, that's significant. So the agent is fully understandable about the situation and the expectations, because when I process these severances, I'm processing based on the information that's provided to me. which then is part of the decision this evening. So there could be a little bit of risk regarding not knowing 100% if that is truly 30 meters.
I see. And Renee, we recognize Renee Courier.
Yeah. That basically would just be used for like a driveway, right? To get to the back of the property where they would actually build, I'm assuming?
Through Madam Chair, that is correct, Renee.
Okay, and normally how wide is a driveway?
Normally, private driveways are, you say, typically 6 meters. You know,
Okay, so 30 or 20, there's still lots of room there.
that's correct.
Mhm.
The only
Because
concern,
obviously they wouldn't really build their house in that 30 meters.
through you, Madam Chair. No, the intent is exactly how you're understanding it. That small strip would provide the access to hopefully build that house in the rear of the property.
Okay, thank you.
So is there a limit to what we call a driveway or a private road?
Through you, Madam Chair, there are no limits. It's dependent on what the agent's proposing. Now, there is language in the zoning bylaw that speaks to different types of roads, specifically private roads and ingress and egress. So it depends on the zone, and it depends on what's being proposed to apply that. So for this case, I didn't have to look at that because the proposal is 30 meters.
Yeah. Okay. And I don't know, Bruno, can you hear us? I don't think he can hear or see.
I think we just continue on.
Okay, we will continue then. Would you like to read the resolution, please?
Okay, so I'll provide the resolution for Mark St. Warren. So be it resolved that consent to application B5121 Mark St. Warren submitted by Chantel Roy and Kyle Jacobson for approval as per the report prepared by the Director of Planning.
We have a mover for this. Ned, do you move?
Yes, I will, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much. We need to wake you up. And do we have a seconder, please, Dave? And any objections from anyone? Okay, carried by all.
Madam Chair,
Oh,
Madam Chair, I have a quick question because I was just trying to wrap my brain around this. I'll direct to the planner. So if it wouldn't be for Homestead, that road, then that land would become landlocked. Am I correct?
Through Madam Chair, that is correct.
Yes. So the only reason this application you're supporting is because of that Homestead road that you initially stated that needs to be kept open.
Through Madam Chair, you are correct, Ned, and it did take a lot of time to dig deep to determine that behind the scenes.
Mm-hmm.
That was my only concern.
Right. Well, sorry to take my time on that. I was just kind of thinking that too, overthinking it.
That's okay.
Nope. Thank you very much, Mr. Wynett. And please be advised there's a 20-day appeal period during which time any person or public body may appeal the decision or any condition imposed by the planning board by filing an appeal with the Secretary Treasurer as prescribed by the Ontario Lands Tribunal. You have 1 year to fulfill the conditions of this conditional approval, or the approval will lapse. I now declare that this portion of the planning board analyze and discuss consent application B5221 Mark St. Warren, Frank Romans. Mr. Dumont, will you please summarize the purpose and effect of the proposed consent and provide any additional information and correspondence relative to the application.
So Frank Romans, we've had numerous teleconferences to kind of guide him through this process. This is a pretty straightforward application. If you look at the mapping and the aerial imagery, you understand where I'm coming from. So basically, he's just dividing it equally, severing one lot and keeping another lot. And that lot to be created is going to be on 3rd Concession Road in the municipality of Mark State Warren. It's going to be, like I said, it's right down the middle. So it's going to be equal to both sides, both the retained and the severed, which is 16.9 hectares. And it's also going to be equal in terms of frontage, 101 meters on each side. And both the frontage in the area still exceed the rural requirements. So there's no issues in terms of zoning or needing relief from a minor variance perspective. And Mr. Roman himself, he's done his due diligence. He did provide our office with supportive comments from the Sudbury District Health Unit on October 8th of 2021. And he did provide our office again with the potable water letter. And he did provide our comments regarding sewage. So he had a complete application. Those will not form as conditions of approval. So it's pretty straightforward in terms of that. And in terms of zoning, already kind of touched on it. No issues with changed use of zoning whatsoever. And he's also provided, again, reached out to Public Works Superintendent. I do have an email that's addressed to our planning board regarding access. And municipal staff has expressed to us that there is no concern for that access to the new lot to be created. So that's been also cleared. Everything else has been pretty straightforward. So going on to the agency comments, again, reached out to municipality Mark State Warren. They had no issues with the proposal this evening. Sudbury District Health Unit provided their comments on October 8th, supportive. Hydro One had no concerns. Bell Canada, their feedback, they had no concerns as well. And overall, the application is to be supported from a local and provincial land use perspective.
Wait, does the applicant have a presentation that he or she wishes to make?
So Frank is on the line, Madam Chair.
And Frank, I presume, is the agent?
And the owner as well.
Oh, and the owner.
So to you, Madam Chair. Frank,
yeah.
Frank, would you like to make a presentation?
No, I just would like to thank you for all your hard work. That's all.
Okay, are there any questions or comments from the members of the public? And I don't think there's any public. And are there any questions or comments from the planning board to the applicant, the director, or any person who made a presentation? Anyone have any questions? Pretty straightforward one. Okay,
So I will read the resolution from the municipality Mark State Warren. So this is the approval for, be it resolved that application, consent application B5221 Mark State Warren, submitted by Frank Romans for approval as per the report prepared by the Director of Planning.
okay, do we have someone who will move to this motion as read?
I'll move that, Madam Chair.
Okay, thank you, Ned. And seconded by Dave. And anyone who has any objection? No, so carried by all. And please be advised that there is a 20-day appeal period during which time any person or public body may appeal the decision or any conditions imposed by the planning board by filing an appeal with the Secretary Treasurer as prescribed by the Ontario Lands Tribunal. You have 1 year to fulfill the conditions of this conditional approval, or the approval will lapse. Okay, thank you, Frank, for joining us. I now declare that this portion of the planning board analyze and discuss consent application number B 5321 French River, Gilles and Nicole Deloge. Mr. Dumont, will you please summarize the purpose and effect of the proposed consent and provide any additional information and correspondence relevant to the application?
Okay, so so the agent for this application is a law firm that's representing Gilles and Nicole Deloge. So the application is in the municipality of French River. So this application is very technical. So what happened was there was buyer's lawyer, seller's lawyer, and they were looking at acquiring the land. So the buyer's lawyer was looking at acquiring the land, and they noticed that there was a contravention to of the Planning Act. So basically, the Planning Act has all these different sections in it. And one of those sections is severances. And in order to, by law, to convey land to somebody, you need to go through the planning board, which is why we're here this evening. So regarding this property, they noticed that they didn't receive approvals from the planning board. So somehow the transfer with the lawyers occurred without any consent from the planning board. So they said, they pumped the brakes and said, whoa, we can't do this deal. We can't do this transfer. Why? Because it wasn't properly severed out. So a process that should have taken, a couple of weeks to close on a deal is now taken 6 to 7, 8 months because of the lawyers and the correspondence and what's going on at their end. So this application tonight, the intent is to reestablish that lot that everybody thought that they owned, but legally they didn't, through this severance application tonight. So that's why it's a very technical application. It's a formality that needs to be processed through the board and then afterwards with my son. So the zoning is in place. Everything's good for the zoning, which is residential rural. It exceeds the 0.8 hectares. The lot is 2.57 hectares, and it has 67 meters of frontage, and it's vacant. And so therefore it exceeds the residential rural zone. No issues there. And then in terms of comments, the French River municipality of French River had no comments or concerns. Bell Canada had no concerns, and Hydro One had no concerns. Like I said, the severance is very technical in nature because we're here tonight to rectify that contravention to the act, which occurred between legal counsel back on February 2nd, 2012. That transfer should have never happened in 2012 without obtaining severance approval through the planning board. And that's why we're here tonight. So overall, the zoning is in place. We can reestablish it legally and technically. So I can support this this evening because it meets the intent of the official plan and zoning bylaw.
Does the applicant have a presentation here she wishes?
I don't
No
believe so.
applicant?
No.
Members of the public? Are there any questions or comments from the planning board to the applicant, director of planning, or any other person? No questions? I have a question. What was this severed from? I don't understand what's happening.
Through Madam Chair. So it can be confusing because this is very legal stuff. So it was never severed to begin with. That's a confusing part.
Yeah.
So people believed, like imagine you are one of the owners of this property and you're under the impression that I own this roll number, which I've been paying taxes to, has been severed out, and then suddenly the buyer's lawyer says no, that's not the case. So that goes back to the Planning Act, which is law. It's very technical stuff. And as a result, I can't really, I'm trying to help as much just to keep it simple here to say that when you go to land registry office, I transfer a property to you, Carol. That transfer goes through different acts and different laws. And at the time, the two lawyers disregarded an act, which resulted in this contravention. And then the new lawyer has recognized what they did back in 2012.
My goodness. Any other questions? Very confusing. Okay, no questions? So I guess everybody's understood that.
I'm trying.
Okay, could you read the resolution?
So I'll read the resolution. So be it resolved that consent application B 5321 French River submitted by Gilles and Nicole Deloge for the approval as per the report prepared by the Director of Planning.
Okay, we have a mover for this resolution, Rob, and the seconder, Jackie. Thank you. And is there any objection to this resolution? No objections. Okay, carried by all. And please be advised there is a 20-day appeal period during which time any person or public body may appeal the decision or any condition imposed by the planning board by filing an appeal with the Secretary Treasurer as prescribed by the Ontario Lands Tribunal. You have 1 year to fulfill the conditions of this conditional approval, or the approval will lapse. And
Last one.
finally, I now declare that this portion of the planning board analyze and discuss consent application number B5421, St. Charles, Jonathan Gerber. Mr. Dumont, will you please summarize the purpose and effect of the proposed consent and provide any additional information and correspondence relevant to the application?
So Jonathan Gerber was in our office, and so I've kind of like assisted him as much as I can throughout this process. Why is that? Because in my opinion, it's a pretty simple transaction to complete. What I mean by that is, so the property that Jonathan owns, he owns two parcels of land, parcel 1467. He also owns parcel 397. And on title, Jonathan owns both those parcels in his name. Again, through the Planning Act by law, they merge together. So what Jonathan wants to do is to legally separate those two parcels of land. And those parcels of land, if you drive by Highway 535 and you see DeCoste Road and Corso Road, that's where he has frontage on such a large piece of land that he has frontage at the south end and the north end being Corso Road and DeCoste Road. And then Highway 535 is also adjacent to it. So basically the intent is to reestablish those two parcels of land through the approval of the board tonight. And the official plan speaks to that. It speaks to separating lots that have merged on title, just like this example. So it's pretty straightforward and simple. And the zoning for this property is still rural and will be rural going forward. Yeah, this one's a pretty straightforward one. It's very technical from that perspective. And I'd be open to any other questions regarding this file, and it can be supported from an official plan and zoning perspective.
Okay, does the applicant have a presentation? Are there any questions or comments from members of the public? Are there any questions or comments from the planning board to the applicant or to the director of planning or any person who made a presentation? Nobody?
I have a question if I can. It's Renee.
Okay.
So I understand, so these two pieces they merged together. So now we're going to separate them again. Would they merge back together?
For you, Madam Chair. That's a very good, another good question. So through this approval process, they will not. The term that a lot of people have use around is once a consent, meaning like severance application, because a consent means like there's different types of, like there's severances, easements, right of ways, and so forth. That's all under consent. So under that, so once a consent, always a consent, basically implying that like once it is approved by the board, it will never legally merge back together.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Renee. Are there any other questions or comments? Okay, would you like to read the resolution?
So I will read the resolution for the municipality of St. Charles. So be it resolved that consent application B5421 St. Charles, submitted by Jonathan Gerber for approval as per the report prepared by the Director of Planning.
I have a mover for this application. I'm sorry, this resolution. Help me out here, people. Paul, would you like to move this resolution? Okay, thank you, Paul. And Rob, you're going to second this, right? Do we have any objections to this resolution as read? Okay, carried by all. Thank you, gentlemen. Okay, we are now moving on to item 7 on the agenda. Business arising from the previous minutes. I don't think nothing, no business. And for the new business, we have an amendment to the official plan.
Now, through you, Madam Chair. So there's no information attached to your agendas regarding this item. And I haven't provided a report regarding this. So an official plan amendment, I've been here over 5 years, just to give you kind of like perspective. This is the first one. And so they're rare. These types of applications are rare. Why are they rare? It's typically, if I could sum it up, we have those two documents. We have our official plan that kind of governs the physical development for all our areas, what you can do, what you can't do. And then under that, you have the zoning bylaw, which has, you know, the regulations of like lot areas, frontages, etc. So when you get an official plan, that means that the proposal is going, sometimes it's going against what the policy is. That's majority of the time the reason you need to do an official plan amendment. And what's unique about an official plan amendment, the province is the approval authority. So MMAH, Ministry of Housing, is the approval authority. But before I get to the province, I have to go through the board. I have to go to the respective municipalities' council. And so this is the first step that I'm doing for the board in saying that I have a resolution here this evening. This application is for the municipality of French River. And I am bringing forth my report to council next Tuesday. So the council will be adopting my recommendation, which is to support this application. But part of that process is not just council adopting it, it's getting the okay from the planning board too. So I need to provide, as part of my submission to the province, I need to submit a resolution from the board. I need a resolution from council. And then I submit a complete package to the province saying this should be recommended for the following reasons. And just quickly to give you a quick synopsis of what this is. It's a municipal property in the village of Noelville. It has been used as a dental office. And over the years, it's always been designated, not zoned, but designated in the official plan institutional. And so what they want to do is they want to change that institutional designation to village designation. And why they want to do that is they want to make a multi-purpose development. So there's an existing structure there, which is operated as the dental place. And so the individual who's acquiring the property wants to get the approvals in place beforehand to also include 4 residential units. So they want to do a mix of commercial and residential. There's going to be 4 residential units with the dental office, and proposing that they have to redesignate from institution to village, which I am fully in support of. But this is more of just like a procedural thing that I have to do with the province. So I'm asking the board to adopt this OPA 21-01 French River this evening. Subject, like I said earlier, subject to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing approval.
Any questions? Ned, do you have a question?
I don't, Madam Chair.
Okay. Anyone else? Paul? The chair.
Yeah, do you hear me? Yep.
Yes, I can. Go ahead.
No, my only question is how come it wasn't included in our package so that we could like peruse it prior? Is there a reason or?
Through you, Madam Chair.
Mhm.
Yeah, so that's definitely just on my part. I missed to include it. Sorry, I didn't catch it.
Oh, that's Nancy, huh?
Yes.
Okay. All right.
Sorry. Yeah. Again, it's our first OPA, and I wasn't thinking that far ahead because it's going to the Council of French River. I was focused on their agenda. Yeah, that's definitely on me.
Okay.
Sorry.
And the
That's
chair, okay, Rob, did you have a question or Choco?
No, just chuckled.
Okay, thank you. And the resolution?
Okay, so I will present the resolution to the board. So be it resolved that the Sudbury East Planning Board adopts file OPA 21-01 French River for the municipality of French River, subject to the Ministry of Municipal Affairs and Housing approval.
And could we get a mover for this? Okay, this is French River. Renee, would you like to move this resolution?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. And Jackie, would you like to be the seconder? Thank you.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Thank you. And any objection to this resolution as read? Thank you very much.
Sure.
Through you, Carol, can I say something, please?
Oh, sorry. Yes.
Yeah, so I can add the information on this application on Monday when I go in, if anybody's interested in viewing the application afterhand.
Okay. And anyone, any further? Okay. Next, we're moving on to the lease agreement that was in your package. And Mr. Dumont.
So everyone has in a package a lease agreement, and that lease agreement is made between the corporation of the municipality of Mark State Warren and the Sudbury East Planning Board. So this lease agreement, when I started back in 2016 in August, and that was the time when the planning board at the time made the transition in the agreement to rent what our current space is today. So that original agreement that the board agreed to was 5 year. It was a 5-year lease. So it expires as of like December 31st of this year. So part of this lengthy document, there's provisions, sections to it to provide notice to the landlord. So that's what I did. I provided notice to the CAO, Real. And the last month we have been communicating in negotiating the terms for this lease. And as you can see, the square footage in our unit is 935 square feet, 0.1. That's our office space. And the terms of the rate is outlined and from 2022 to 2026. And the square footage per rate was agreed upon myself and Real. Again, the last month going back and forth, working together to finally agree to terms for the Sub-East Planning Board. So basically, I'm open to any questions regarding the agreement. And Real will be bringing this agreement also to their council to sign off, I believe, next week, the 13th of December, when he will be bringing his agreement. So as you can see, the rate is starting off at, for 2020, the rate is $13. And we're going to increase it for the next 5 years at $1 increase up to 2026. So it's $13 to $17 through the 5 years. What basically what our current rate today, our current rate to give you perspective on the square footage was $10 a square foot. What we're paying up to today. So from $10 to $13 is a 30% increase in rent. Obviously, things have, we can't project what the next 5 years are going to look like. And when they signed this 5 years ago, they can project there'd be COVID and everything would be astronomical in terms of pricing and stuff like that. So, so that's part of that negotiation between myself and Real, where we were understanding each other's perspectives, where we kind of then agreed to these rates for the next 5 years.
Okay, any questions? Jackie.
Just a comment, I think it's before the amount that planning board was paying for square footage, you guys had a good deal because the going rate in all the municipalities, it's around $15 to $18 a square foot. So I like the fact that they're not going to the juggler right away, bringing it to $17. They're gradually bringing it up for the planning board to meet what we should be paying. That's my view. So
Thank you very much for your comments. Any other comments you'd like to share?
I have, if I can, Madam Chair, I would just like to appreciate what Jackie Lafleur said. I didn't want to bring this because I'm sitting in the municipality of Marks State Warren. But yes, at $10 a square foot, that was rock bottom. Even going up to 17 a square foot is still a very it's almost like I'm not going to say it's a gift, but it's certainly it's more than fair. And we got to remember that this lease includes all the inside cleaning, outside maintenance. So it's just pretty much walk in the office and do the job. So yes, Jackie, you're absolutely right. The rates certainly don't reflect anywhere near what others are paying.
but it's appreciated that the Marks Day is not going right away to the top. They're gradually letting the planning board gradually go up in their lease. And it's, for me, it's greatly appreciated. So.
Yes, and I can echo that, Jackie, because we did have a discussion prior, and we wanted to be fair, and I think that Real and Matt, if I won't speak for Matt, but I think they came to a fair and amicable deal.
Okay, thank you very much for your comments. Is there anyone else that would like to weigh in? Paul.
Yeah, was this circulated to all the municipalities so that they could have a look at it, or not really?
Through Madam Chair. So in part of the part of the agreement, the section says that you have to provide notice just to the landlord. So I provided notice January of 2020. That's when I initiated, because I like to play ahead of the game and try to resolve this. So I initiated the contact in January of 2020 regarding negotiations, but in terms of circulating it, it's not required.
No, because at St. Charles, we have some space available, and I don't know, I think above at the top of the school, we were just talking about that at our last meeting, how we were trying to set the rate so that if we had a paying customer, we could vacate some space for somebody looking for some square footage. So
Okay.
So through Madam Chair,
Yes.
I'll give you more context, Paul. I'll give you more context, because you
Okay.
bring a valid point up. So I'll give you the context because you're asking. So the context is, I reached out to the municipality of Marseille Warren January 2020. So I can prepare for options if it doesn't work out. August of this year, I follow up with the same email. I don't get a response until November 4th. And today's December 2nd, less than a month. So I'm in a situation now that I don't have the time to explore options here, unfortunately. So now, going forward, Nancy and I have talked about it, that we like to start, the discussion well in advance, maybe, 3 years into this lease, to then start exploring other options. That's the fact of this situation.
So on January 2020, is that what you said? You started?
Through Madam Chair, I have an email from January 2020 directed to start.
21.
Sorry. I apologize. I'm just getting a minute stuff. So January of 2021, I have an email directed to the CAO. Let's start the discussions regarding our lease. August 18th, I have a follow-up to that original email. No response. November 4th, I get a proposal, November 4th, stating that municipality Marseille Warren wants $17 to start. November 4th. I'll leave it. I won't go any further regarding that, but that's just basically, I didn't want to go there, but at the end of the day, the question was asked, and I have to provide what I'm doing, at least at my end, at a minimum, to the board members.
Okay,
And-
does that answer your question, Paul?
Well, I'm still thinking about all that space that we have that we're actually getting basically nothing for. Like if we get $15 an hour or whatever, like two bucks less, I think we'd be happy. But like, is this need to be signed right away? Is that what I'm hearing?
Through Madam Chair, yes. Like we need a place, and it's unfortunate that it's just unfortunate. Like this is just, it's actually not our fault. At the end of the day, we've done everything that we could have done, and now I'm in a situation that we were stressed, very stressed, because we didn't know what was going on, because we'd be out of an office potentially. But the last resort was arbitration. I was going to go through arbitration, meaning we'll still have an office, and I don't want to pay for lawyer fees. But at that point in time, that's what happened. Now I'm moving past it. We have something here that works. But to your point, Paul, Nancy and I have talked about it, and so we just need the sufficient time, like 2 years in advance, 3 years in advance, to kind of like explore the school, explore other options that working from home. There's all sorts of different options, but we didn't have the time. We were in a pickle to find a place to be.
Okay.
If
I'd like.
Okay, the chair recognizes Jackie, please.
Just to reiterate, I think what it is, maybe in the future, maybe if there is rotation between the municipalities or whatever, but I think for now, I think initially, Mark C. Warren did concede, because initially you mentioned they wanted 17. They said, okay, we have to be realistic. They went down to 13 and gradually. That I like, because but I think is to give you 9 months or 12 months, like you asked in January, I think is any CAO should be replying before last minute on any rental, okay? But my question would be is how much, I think the difference won't be that much, but did you put that in your budget for 2022, the extra rental you'll have to pay? Because it'll be eventually like each municipality will have to pay extra. So was that counted in your budget?
That's right, Madam Chair. That's another very good point, because I do appreciate that, because the budget is everything. It means a lot to the board members here. So I did consider that with Nancy. We found opportunities, for example, through CGIS, where I saved approximately, I'd say $4,000 to $5,000 going forward every year. That was a big savings that it took. Just took a lot of dedication to get to the bottom of an agreement from the past, and going forward as of 2022, we will be saving $4,000 to $5,000 every year in CGIS.
And I think a lesson learned is, and I'll say this to Mark C. Warren, you don't wait 9 months to reply when you have people renting your premises, when you're trying to negotiate a contract. You don't wait to the last minute. That's something maybe beyond their control, but that's something for later on, that when you start negotiating on the rental, you don't wait to the last minute. So that's something that it should be looked at. So,
Okay, the chair recognizes Renee. Do you still have a question?
Yep. Are we, do we have to sign a 5-year contract? Can we sign a 2-year contract? Matt?
Through Madam Chair, I was just going on the basis of what, I was focused just on the basis of what was in place for the 5 years. So I did not explore, I wasn't probably thinking at the time, because I didn't explore that option of like a 2-year, 3-year contract. No, I did not.
Okay.
Well, personally, I think I myself would probably would like to maybe sign a 2-year contract and then see what other options are available out there. I don't know if that is an option or not, but 2 years, I mean, you know, that'll give you enough time to look around and get other pricing. Or are you guys happy with the location you're at, and does that work good for you guys? That's another question.
Chair, I'll let Nancy answer that, because that's a very good question. So I'll let Nancy go first.
Yeah, as opposed to, are we content with the office space? We are, for sure. Obviously, I'm a taxpayer in municipality of Mark St. Warren, so it's very close for myself. But yeah, even when it comes down to access for the public, I find it is a good location. Again, I don't know what other municipalities offer in location-wise at the moment. And I do feel that we are starting off 2022 at $13 an hour, which are $13 a square foot, which is quite low. For us to find something at this moment at that rate, I don't know if that'd be possible. Again, we are going up to $17 by 2026, which might be a little bit more comparable to what else is out there. But yeah, I feel for at this time, it is the best bet for the planning board.
And
thank you.
Through you, Madam Chair, I moved to Coniston this past year. So for me, I made the move to Coniston because Coniston saves me a lot of time on driving every day to the office. Through COVID, like I've mentioned, I've been physically in the office every day. There's nothing from working from home. So for me, I save 15 to 20 minutes on a commute. for the fact that to me it's a great location that provides service off of Highway 17 to a lot of people in the area. For the exception of sometimes the unorganized and in Killarney. But it's an ideal location, which was a result of the decision that I think was made in 2016, because Melissa, who was the director of planning back in 2016, did have the time to provide. She looked at the OPP stations, she looked at schools, she looked at everything, and then she took this Excel sheet and she narrowed down, because we needed board space like this. We needed certain things to put all our files, because we have lots of files. And what I love about our office is there's a lot of natural light, It's very clean. It's updated. It's a beautiful space. I do love it. That's all I can say from my end.
Okay, Ned and then Jackie afterwards. Ned, do you still have a question or comment?
Yeah, it's more of a comment, Madam Chair. Thank you. It's I think now that it's been revealed that the 5-year term went from 13 to 17, I think would be disingenuous to say, well, let's go for a 2-year and we're going to go somewhere else and get it for 16 or 15 because they've already know, I think this lease agreement is between the planner and the CAO, or that being the landlord. And I know I heard the planner say he sent a letter out January 21st. January 2021, and then followed up in August. Well, I was a landlord myself, and I also rented. And if I was worried, I wouldn't be waiting for 6 months to follow up, and then following. If you want a deal, let's go after it, and not wait for I know it takes two parties to negotiate. So do I say Mark Stay Warren? Mark Stay Warren is not responsible for the lease. It's the CAO, and we're not privy too much to that. It's between Matt and the CAO or the landlord. So I think, in all honesty, $13 a square foot to start to a 17 is still very fair.
Okay, Jackie.
Just a comment, I think, is like somebody was saying, like maybe 2 years or whatever. You just have to remember is, as a landlord, because they were anticipating 5 years, that's why it's spread it out. If you were going to negotiate 2 years, well, then you probably wouldn't have paid 14 or 15. It would have been higher. So I think it was fair to say, okay, in 5 years from now, Mark Stay Warren will gradually bring it up to what it should be. So if we go to 2 years, then that grid would probably be out the window. So
exactly.
Okay, but I think for the location, I have to agree with the staff. It is the best location for them. But in the future, if each municipality wants to have a rotation every 5 years, that's up to them. But I think for now, the decision would be is the ideal situation is Mark Stay Warren, where they are located, and we move on for the next few years after that.
Okay, and Rob, did you have a comment or question?
Yeah, I agree with Jackie. I think a lot of water is passed under the bridge, and a lot of negotiations happen. So I think at this point we should move forward. But I think, Matt, going forward at the 2-year mark or the 1-year mark, there should be an RFP or some kind of a document go out to all municipalities advising that you're looking for new space and get proposals. And it's more than just the rent cost, because if you do move, there's a cost in moving. So all of that needs to be kind of summarized in a document to the board that, you could move here at this rate, but it would cost X dollars to move all the files and the convenience for staff and that sort of thing, and then allow the board to make an informed decision as to what the right move is.
Okay, that's a good comment. Thank you, Rob. And Paul, did you have a comment to make?
Yeah. The thing is, right now it feels like And it's nothing to Mark Stewart, and I agree. It's just this last minute, oh, by the way, here it is. We don't have a choice. And having no choice is not giving you giving us an opportunity to make any decision. So if you don't want us to make any decisions, why even bring it up then? That's my only comment.
Did you want to speak to that?
Through Madam Chair. So I just want to understand, so like, is the discussion about like, if we don't have a say in it, then why? At the end of the day, I talked to other CAOs. I tried to do the best that I can with the situation. And then on top of that, I fought for the planning board for the last month to consider our budget, because that's very important. Our budget is very important because I know how apportionment works. I know every year when we go to apportionment, that's the last thing our board members want to hear in terms of increases. So I take that all into consideration. I also took in consideration, does Nancy love what she's doing, where she's at, where I am, and all those things. It's it's not an easy answer. And I did seek guidance from other CAOs, and they did support me prior to making this decision to make this to the board this year.
So CEOs were talked about this. Like, it's not just the one CEO, it's all the CEOs.
So to you, Madam Chair, again, we do have a resolution in place that was passed by the full board about human resources. So I did consult with Mark Gagne because I needed, I wasn't getting anywhere. There was no communication. I was doing my best. And so at the end of the day, we need a place to be. And I also took in consideration that the rate is very reasonable, in my opinion, with what Rael and I worked together with. Because, for example, the rate was supposed to start at $17, an increase of 50 cents every year. And so we worked it out where Rael wanted 50 cents an increase per year. But I said, you know what, if we could get a lower, just a lower rent, but increase it at $1 to work towards it, so it's not a large impact towards our finances, this can work. And also in terms of budget, you're going to see in the new year, we had a record year. Of all the years of the Sub-East Planning Board, 30 plus years, record year in terms of revenue. And you'll see those numbers. So that also helps out in the budget and considering that. But I do agree that Nancy and I do need the time listening to the board members, looking and exploring Rob's point, Renee's point, Jackie's point, your point, Paul, about looking at options now that we've been in this situation.
Okay, I'm good.
Okay, any other comments about the agreement? Okay. And is there a resolution for this or?
Yeah, so I put to Rael also has a resolution in place for his council. So I have a resolution for our board. So the resolution is to be read that be it resolved that the planning board authorizes the director of planning to enter into a 5-year lease agreement with the municipality of Mark St. Warren to procure office space at the Warren Hockey Arena in the community of Warren beginning January 2022.
And could we have a mover for this? Rob and Dave seconding. Any objection to this resolution as read? Okay, carried by all. Just a question, I didn't see it in the agreement. Do they have access to it? Well, they do have internet, but I just wondered if we would be able to do the Zoom meetings or at least a hybrid of the meetings from Mark St. Warren. Is there?
Through you, Madam Chair.
Yes.
There's an issue because just with the building being tin, I believe that's the reason. Even cell phones don't work right in there. So I know with our internet, same thing if we're upstairs. So it would be something I'd have to look into a little more further if we could switch. I'm not technical at any part, so I would definitely have to look into see if there's any way we could adapt our system for that.
Okay. Thank you. Any other questions before we move on? Okay, and any motions that were received from the Secretary Treasurer prior to the closing of the meeting?
No.
No. Payment of vouchers. That was included in your package. Any questions to Nancy or Mr. Dumont?
It's you, Madam Chair. Just a note to all board members. So the payment of vouchers is for the October month. And Nancy can speak to why November was not included.
Yeah, so generally our meetings are the second Thursday of each month, which buys me time to do the bank reconciliation. As we all know, we're December 2nd, so I would have had to have that completed yesterday and out to you guys, and I just felt that the time was tight. So it will be at our next meeting, for sure.
November, December type of thing?
Yes.
Okay. Any other questions about the vouchers? Okay. We have to pick resolution first.
Resolution. So be it resolved that the statement of disbursements for the month of October 2021 in the amount of $13,162.11 be distributed and is hereby approved for payment.
We have a mover for this. Ned, I think you need to move this.
Yes, yes, I will.
Okay, and a seconder.
I can second.
Thank you, Renee. And any objection? Okay, carried by all. Now, just before we adjourn, I want to make one comment. I distributed a copy of SMART goals that were put together to everyone before the November meeting, but in talking to Matt this tonight, we made a couple of modifications. So what I'll do is send them all out to you. The goals for our board for the I'll send them out ASAP, and then the next meeting we can move to accept those goals. And also we'll be including a little bit of a training session each meeting. It won't be long. It's not going to be a long discussion or anything, but just to kind of go through the work. Now, I understand that everybody except maybe Rob and Renee from Unorganized, possibly everyone else should have a binder that they were given when they first started.
If they didn't receive the binder, they received the PDF.
Oh, okay. So you either have a binder or you have a PDF of what is in the binder. If you could bring that binder next time so that we can take a look at it and add to it. Okay. And I'll send that out as a reminder as well. And adjournment.
So adjournment, our next meeting, as you know, it's we have Christmas holidays coming up. We also have the New Year, 2022. So I have scheduled our kickoff start date for February 10th, which is the second Thursday of the new year, February, sorry, for 5:30 for our board meeting, which will be held here again. So be it resolved that the meeting be adjourned at 7 p.m. and that the next regular meeting be held on February 10th, 2021 at 5:30 p.m. at the municipality of French River Municipal Office virtually.
Just a question, why are we skipping January?
I'm skipping January because I made the decision that it's not reasonable to have a meeting on a Thursday because of holidays. I'm taking holidays in December, so I won't be around to meet timelines for a January meeting.
Okay. Any comments before we vote on this? Any comments from anyone? Could I have a mover for this resolution? And Dave, and seconded by Jackie. Any objection? Okay, see you in February after the holidays. Thank you, and the meeting is closed at 7.
You said 7.
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock. Have a good holiday, everyone.
Have a good holiday.
Right on.
Cheers.
Happy holidays, everybody.
Happy holidays.
Yes.